All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 69.
Dudes.
69,
yeah. We are at that legendary number that, you know, when a show goes on for as long as Legend of the Galactic Heroes does, we get the chance to get to and actually say out loud. But, silliness aside.
Because we're 10 years old inside.
Exactly.
Basically. In a lot of ways, guys, this is actually the build-up towards the potential next stage of another conflict. So we've got Yang over at Elphasil. He's joined them. However, he's not thrilled about it. It's more something that just makes sense for him to do.
There's costs and benefits.
The Free Planets Alliance, though, they are sending everything they can to Yang and basically be like, hey,
save us, please.
Well, not just save us. Just take what you can. We're sorry.
Do the best you can.
Do the best you can.
Yeah.
Just
hopefully this helps.
Don't get wiped out, basically.
Right.
And however, everyone else, though, Wu Chang, Yukok, they're essentially going to fall on their swords.
They are going to
take this L for the Alliance. Yeah.
It will get carved through like warm butter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that'll be kind of exciting to see because I know that is something that our good man Bittenfeld will definitely enjoy.
I think he'll feel a bit cucked in a lot of ways.
Okay, yeah, that's true. It's like, what is this? Yeah.
Wow, this is it?
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed.
Ugh.
Yeah. I could see him kind of like just getting to that point where he's like,
I'm not even hard.
I did it all, and I'm still soft. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Just what was... Yeah. But Reinhard, though, is the really big one I think we should be worried about potentially not getting some kind of direct conflict with, because if he just runs over the Alliance, occupies everything, gets everything set up, and Yang kind of just retreats to Iserlon, there's no reason for Reinhard to attack him in a tactical measure or a strategic even measure.
But Reinhard wants to.
But Reinhard wants to fight, so what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? I really hope we get that awkward transmission kind of conversation where it's like, come out. Nah.
It's like, I mean, this is an effective strategy, but, I mean, is this sustainable? What does it mean? Okay, you have Iserlon. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
We also have a big problem brewing in Fezzan. Rubinsky,
the bald
risen.
Bastard cockroach, is starting to make a play.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Julian's back.
Okay. He's
Julian's back.
Yep. And we've got more narrator spoileries in that ominous stuff is about to happen with regards to Yang.
Indeed.
For a variety of reasons, one being that he hasn't looked at the disc yet, which is curious because that's regarding the Church of Terra, which seemingly was defeated.
Right. I think what the point was that eventually they did end up looking at the disc, but it's just that he should have done it sooner. Because there was a guy that mentioned at the end of it that they were like, hey, he should have looked at that disc when he got it.
Right, but I get the feeling that Yang still might not have
Right. I think it's more the point that they're going to look at it, but it's just that they haven't shown us, the audience, yet them looking at it.
That basically, with the information that they will end up getting from that disc, it will be significant enough that it will change what they decide to do. If anything, I would guess that it would be because of they'd be able to find out about the church's interactions with Rubinsky.
Yep, that was exactly what I was
changes
going to
the
say.
situation on Fezzan.
Right.
And if they have different information for what happens on Fezzan, like there's things like, hey, Yang, if you took Iserlon, then left a skeleton crew, continued on and attacked the Imperial territories, then Reinhard would be forced
to go the long way around.
The
Iserlon path is not feasible with Thor's hammer being able to just fire pot shots at your fleet as it passes by.
And even if it was something where Reinhard stayed in Alliance space, for instance, which he probably wouldn't, but
Kessler,
you know,
or someone,
right? But if he kept some forces in Alliance space in order to destroy the Alliance, but then also keep the blockade on Iserlon, so that way then they're pincered from like both sides of the galaxy.
Yeah, and maybe even put pressure on Elphasil so that Yang has the political issues of, well, wait,
you're going to be reduced to just Iserlon.
Yeah.
But They don't know about the whole situation with, whatever's going on, whatever has gone
Whatever's
on.
going on with the Church of Terra,
Right.
that has its kind of its spider web throughout the galaxy. So, initial thoughts is that it's related to Rubinsky, and I think that's the primary bit. The bigger issue is that there could be people besides Rubinsky that are in both the Alliance and the Empire
that are agents
Church
of
Terra
Church of Terra
agents.
with no headquarters. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for their moment
Sure.
where they'll make some kind of a play.
Yep.
And regardless of who they are, that's scary for everyone.
It's actually a good
because
point.
We saw what the Church of Terra was capable of if they just were armed with cloaks and explosives in their
Yep.
own planet. They
But-
were crazy.
They were absolutely crazy, and quite frankly, Yang, now this wouldn't be necessarily for the safety of the galaxy as a whole, but if
Yeah.
you were strictly wanting to defeat Reinhard,
You could utilize them.
if the Church of Terra was still around, that they would be a helpful ally because they know how to do the cloak and dagger, they know how to do the guerrilla warfare,
And the dirtier tactics.
exactly.
The underhanded, sneaky stuff.
Right. And right now you're dealing with the opposite problem in
Yeah.
that they're a bunch of scrubs that you're dealing with, right? And they're like, well, we're sort of the leaders, but we don't know how to handle tense situations, so they're wanting to play it too reserved, too close to the chest when really it doesn't matter if Yang stays with them or not because Reinhardt's fleet is massive, right?
Yeah.
Yang isn't actually going to be able to help them in a direct one-for-one like confrontation with the Empire. That's not how this works.
Yeah, he has to use guerrilla tactics or just kind of hit and runs. And,
Right. If anything,
and
even
avoid large scale conflicts.
even
in general.
having Alpha Seal declare its independence, like, yeah, it's a nice thought, but that basically signs your death warrant.
like in a year minimum,
Yeah,
or
like-
in some ways maximum. That's how much time you'll get before the Empire shows up and it's like, okay, guys, surrender, or this gets real simple for
like
us.
the way you drag this out is by resistance cells and things like that, and when you're on a dedicated planet, it doesn't work very well. It's better for being able to produce resources and stuff to fund the effort, for sure, but
Yeah, but in some ways, tactically, because Reinhardt is on the Alliance side of things, El Facile is on the wrong side of Iserlon.
Yes.
So you actually want Reinhardt to go back to the Empire to defend there.
and even then, that's just stalling for time. Because
Exactly,
it's
because
just
then-
however long it takes for them to
right.
go around
and
yeah.
all he'd really need to do is just have Ruental or Mittermeier just send their fleet to El Facile.
just wait.
And just wait for that pincer moment, and
Right.
then wait for Yang to come off, and then they're like, oop, and then
And you've got the whatever million kilometers or whatever of distance that's the Thor's hammer's range.
Right.
But you go outside of that and you're incinerated. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah. So there's a lot of big things that can go on with that
Yes.
there. However, we've now got all the characters in the same place with regards to the Alliance side of things. This is a really big deal because now they're going to issue out the sorties. So
Right.
we've got Merkatz and Shunkov going and taking Iserlon. Love it
Love it.
because they are the ex-Imperials leading both sides of the fleet and then the personnel combat forces.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's gonna be
I
great.
put them at like a 97% chance success.
yes,
Like
as far as the
fantastic.
As far as
duo.
the most competent people under Yang, I would put Shunkov and Merkatz as like up there
Extremely
at the top.
high.
With Julian being the other one that's close behind, he's also on the mission, but then
Right.
he's the next generation, so there's that whole
Yeah,
thing.
and Attenborough seems to be the next one that they're kind of building up to be the eventual
But
Merkatz.
he's
No,
got to
no.
he's got to do some leveling up though,
No,
like
no,
you
I'm with you,
mentioned.
but Attenborough has never failed Yang. In
true.
his past. There are other people though under Yang that have kind of screwed the pooch at times. So with this here, Iserlon is definitely going to be taken within
Yep.
a week, like very quickly.
Right.
It's probably just going to be whatever the issue that they kind of left with Iserlon, so that they
When they
can
left it
get
last time.
people in and or take down the
Right,
fortress
because-
in a manner that won't lead to heavy losses. Basically.
Exactly. Yep. Because Iserlon, as we've had demonstrated in the past, it's not. If you get inside it, it's very easy to take it over. Because while they'll have security on the inside and things like that, if you're dealing with an internal battle, the whole point of the fortress is moot at that point, right?
yeah,
and then
it's
fleets might be able to get close.
It's
and
the
things like
Death
that.
Star, basically.
Right, yeah.
It's a ridiculously powerful floating moon
Yep.
that can take on any size of fleet or any whatever there, no problem. But if you have a small boarding crew party that with very good training and they go straight to the command center, they can shut down everything, localize people to where
you
it's
still
then
have
just-
people at desks inside it. You
Exactly.
know, like that's a weakness.
Yeah.
But
we also have everything going on with Katarose von Kreutzer.
indeed.
So
And
Schoenhoff found out.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he wasn't very surprised. Now I get the feeling it was because when he mentioned the name, he was like,
He's like,
"Oh, is that okay?
is she a beauty? Because
she
if
a
so,
beauty?
then she's my daughter.
She's totes my daughter, right?"
I
You know?
loved how confident he said that.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh,
And
yeah, she's probably my daughter then. Unless
Right.
she's not that pretty. Is she pretty?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, she's gorgeous. Like, yep. There you go, my man.
and then Attenborough's just like, "Okay, all right, well,
Right.
what do I do?" Like,
right. Like, he was so, like, flustered by that kind of response.
I loved it when he was debating whether or not to tell Julian. He's like,
yes. He's like,
"Yeah,
fine, I'll just tell you.
yeah, to hell with it," you know. And Julian's just like, "Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you sure?" And it's like, okay, first off, Julian.
Julian, I understand you haven't had sex yet, like ever in your life. But when you have sex unprotected, there is a high likelihood that kids come from that.
And if you have ever just looked at Schoenhoff, you would be able to tell that he fucks. Like,
He is, what do they say? Like, the galaxy's like second biggest playboy.
Right,
And
yeah.
Ruenthal was number 1 or something.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And then Poplin thinks he's hot shit. but
Poplin,
really-
okay. To be fair, Poplin is industrious.
yes.
And if
you know, the
anything-
mathematics.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's playing the numbers game.
That's right.
And my man keeps finding
It's like,
how
hey,
to solve X, if you know what I'm saying.
There's 5 billion potential receptacles for my seed out there.
I mean, he could have more, but he's a bit picky. You know what I'm
That's true.
saying?
That's
he's
true.
he's throwing
Only
off
the ones-
15 billion potential options in his own sexual preferences there.
I love that he was like, whoa, no. I'll just take the ones with bad character. Attenborough, you can take the ones with good
So
character. I
I'll
was like,
localize myself to 2.5 billion.
right, exactly. You know,
Poplin.
yeah, rein things in after all. Gotta, I mean,
Got it.
everything in moderation.
Yeah. But this is another example of this whole dynamic of authority figures learning how to delegate. So, well, not only that, but also learning how to let go of their ownership of their subordinates in some
Yes.
ways. Yang basically willing to
experiencing-
let go of Julian.
Yes.
Basically set him free.
Yang's superiors with Yang, which has been the story
Exactly.
of his life,
Right.
And then we've got freaking everyone else with Merkats, but then
Yep.
also Schoenhoff with his daughter.
Schoenhoff with
where
his
it's
daughter.
my daughter, automatic X. Nope. It's like, she might take exception to that.
Because isn't she like an ace freaking pilot?
Yep.
Like, wouldn't she be perfect for a mission like this?
Seems like.
Yeah.
Seems
Yeah,
like
would it
she
need to
might
be
be.
like extremely fast, like immediate combat, hostile docking situation?
Yeah.
Where they're
Yeah,
like,
you know,
yeah, that's the kind of person you'd want, actually. Now, Poplin is going, and he is also an ace pilot in general.
Yeah.
But that is the kind of thing of where, based on the crew that went, you could tell that they needed basically the young and extremely talented. And she potentially fits all those
And
things there.
quite frankly, Schoenhoff, it might actually have been safer for her to go along, because while she's, you know, an ace pilot and everything, and that you don't want space combat for when you're going against Iserlon, right? If you know you're going to take Iserlon, wouldn't you want to have someone that you want to keep safe potentially be nearby that, because there's a big ass fleet that's coming to crush El Facile?
No, there's no big ass fleet coming to crush El Facile yet.
Right. Yes.
Remember.
That's right.
So,
that's
remember,
right.
There are 3 trains. No worries. No worries.
Heinesen first. Yeah.
Bittenfeld is first in line going to Heinesen.
Surging onward.
Mittermeier is directly behind him by a good chunk of time. And then a bit behind them is the super fleet with Reinhardt.
That's
so
true.
Bittenfeld
That's
is going to initially engage them.
Yep.
But once that's done,
Which won't take long. We saw what Bucock
won't take long. Yeah,
had.
I would guess that outside of maybe the resource expenditure of going to El Facile, and probably from their like strategic kind of look of things, like the overview, they don't know that Yang is basically has that much of a fleet. In the same way that they were looking at Merkats as
sure.
basically being someone where they're like, yeah, Who cares if Merkatz is alive?
Right.
If he doesn't have, a fleet to attach himself to, he's just a bright star that's immobile and shining, but with no real force or function.
And I get the
him.
feeling Yang is going to have about 8,000 or 9,000 ships all total when it's all said.
When all is said and done,
with
less
extra,
than 10K for
with
sure.
the extra 5,500, so he'll have a workable fleet, right? Like something.
He will have something that could take on, like, maybe Mittermeier by himself. Like, he could probably take on Mittermeier one-on-one, and it would be a good, fair fight.
Right, like he would win, but he wouldn't want to do that because the
want
losses
to.
would be too heavy.
Because he would probably lose, like, 30% of his ships.
Right, exactly. So, but someone like Bittenfeld, I'll bet he could make pretty short work of Bittenfeld.
Yeah, I would say that Yang's real strength right here is if he gets Iserlon, he can sortie out from Iserlon to either side. That's the real strength.
Right.
Is that then the Empire has to split their forces to man both sides when they don't even have full control of the Alliance side of things yet.
Right,
so
and theoretically stuff could pop up on Fejon that causes trouble.
Right, and if stuff pops up there, then it will take too much time for them to go around to the Imperial side of things. So we're looking at a strategic situation where they need to capitalize on the win over the Alliance as fast as possible.
Yep.
And then just solidify things, and then in some ways just send a diplomatic envoy to Yang and be like, if you leave this area, it's declaration of war. But for now, stay there. We're dealing with our own shit.
It's actually a good point.
That would make tactical sense not tactical, strategic sense for Reinhard.
I'm kind of curious.
With any kind of infighting.
I'm kind of curious why Reinhard didn't from the get-go do the same thing he did in the original Ragnarok plan of having Ruental or someone, because Ruental originally had to take Iserlon in order to go through there. They already have Iserlon. Now, granted, I get the idea that because they have Iserlon, they're assuming that no one will be able to retake it. So then it's the anvil already. They don't need any more forces there.
Exactly. I think it is entirely based on the idea that they have enough stationed fleets that if something went weird with Iserlon, it's not like they're going to lose any of the Empire space.
Right.
But also, that's operating on the 1 in 1,000 that Iserlon actually gets taken.
Right, because they don't know that Yang has a way to take it back.
Exactly.
Right. But I guess it's something where, like, that is one of those things where people are constantly assuming that Iserlon can't get taken. Like just in the what we've seen of the show.
Yeah.
And yet it's changed hands like 3 or 4 times.
But that's the only points in which it's changed hands.
Right.
But
a lot recently. And the idea, like,
years. That was a couple years ago already.
Sure. Yeah, but I don't know. A fortress like that changing hands every 6 months or something, that feels like,
but only for a few years. It didn't change hands a bunch before that.
No. But we're dealing with the new generation, right? Where the rules of the game change.
Yeah.
The old empire's gone, things like that. So, Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still, in my mind, it's still a 1 in 1,000 situation because they've got, they've got all of Yang's basically forces completely scattered or broken as far as the Empire info that they have. So that's just why I would say that. With things though on Reinhard's side and Hilda's anxiety regarding the idea that he might want to lose to a worthy opponent, but choosing that.
Right.
Meaning that he would seek out a fight for the purpose of just putting himself in that situation in Vermilion again.
Right.
But having the opportunity to win. I am very worried for Reinhard then, because I feel like this is the kind of thing where if the Church of Terra and Rubinsky becomes the next major threat to the Empire beyond Yang, beyond Yang as another threat, then for Reinhard, the most terrifying thing is that he could be so focused on outside threats that he ends up completely ignoring the internal ones. Mm-hmm. And it can be really bad.
But thankfully, we got that bit of exposition from the narrator that apparently this thing that Yang's doing won't go well. So that makes me think that at the very least, it's probably not Reinhardt's time to go out just yet.
Well, that's my thing. I don't think that Yang is going to be the one to do in Reinhard.
I don't think so either.
I think Reinhard is going to be the instrument of his own demise, or it's going to be vengeance from the Church of Terra.
Oh.
Because remember, The Empire was the ones that completely obliterated Terra.
Sure, but I feel like they've been fairly thoroughly dealt
No,
with. Like,
no, that's the whole point with the disc, is that some people from Terra got away, and that's
Sure.
just their base. That's just their base.
Yeah,
The
but
Church of Terra was a galaxy-wide spanning cult, like, at the very least.
I'm not particularly worried about Reinhardt getting assassinated on like a person, like someone coming in with a bomb or a knife or a gun or something like that.
Okay.
You know, I'm more worried about like if Ruental decides to turn on him and he doesn't expect it, that kind of a thing.
I mean, that's kind of the equivalent, though. It's an internal threat that has nothing to do with Yang.
No, right, but that's the how do I say it? If it's an assassination, it will feel very much like okay, that's something that Reinhardt would constantly be potentially worried about, or at least the people under him, since his own self-preservation hasn't been as strong recently. But an actual fleet battle, it's like, okay, yeah, if they manage to destroy Reinhardt's flagship while he's on it, there's not much defense against that other than just hope that no one's around that has the capabilities and desire to do it.
Which is why, for now, I would say we're good on that front, because Ruental is literally on the ship with him, based on the last kind of deployments of the fleet and stuff.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, Ruental is so close by that it could happen in that way. It will just probably happen a little bit later, once things have
I think
escalated towards some kind of direct conflict with him and Yang.
Right. For the immediate future, Reinhardt is probably safe.
Yeah, he is probably safe. Yeah. But y'all, good setup stuff here, and next week's probably Iserlon.
Yeah.
So, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.